Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Transformative CEOs. I am Nadia Rousseau, founder and CEO of Alter New Media, with a duo that I've known for quite a while now. Can't believe it's already been 3 years, Zach and Jason Francis of Willo AI. But they have headed up numerous companies over the years. So really what I want to talk about today is the permission to be multidimensional in business, because I feel like we hear a lot of talk about having to focus on just one lane and that's it. And I've always been multidimensional. I'm a creative, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm tech forward, and I don't want to apologize for that. So these two have been doing so much for so many years, and as a duo, no less, as brothers for over 15 years. So please tell me where it all began.
Yeah, what's up? Well, I'm Zach.
This is
Jason, and thanks so much for having us on the show today. We really appreciate it, and we're excited to dive into it. It's been fun watching your other episodes, and so excited to see what we can get into. It's going to be fun.
It's 15 years. So 15 years you've been working together. How did this begin, and have you always gotten along this well?
Yeah, well, I guess it goes back even further from when I was born, because I'm just a little bit younger. But been good friends since when the partnership began. We were the little yin and yangs back in the day, and always had good fun together, good mischief. We could do create the best of mischief together. And as we grew up, we just had a good bond that worked really well across the different projects we were doing, the different sports or whatever we were doing in that aspect in that time. And as that evolved and grew, we started building homes together with our dad teaching us how to build when we were still in high school. And so it goes back a long ways, and we've worked out some of our tiffs at times. Obviously, it's not like there's never any fights. The good news is we got most of those out of the way when we were little kids. But yeah, going forward, we've been able to, work through any of our kind of disagreements, but a lot of the time, thankfully we're pretty on the same page on most of the aspects of what we're working on in that sense.
And there's a healthy amount of challenging each other in different aspects, right? That's part of learning and growing and helping shape each other into not only who we need to be to bring our businesses to the next level, but also as individuals. So I think there's a healthy amount of challenging there, and also being aligned with our core mission, our big vision, I think is the big part. That's not aligned, then everything else kind of falls apart from there.
Yep. Yeah.
You started building houses with your dad, and now you're running essentially 2 tech companies, and you've been in the creative and marketing space as well. I mean, that's a lot of evolution. Back when your dad asked you to be like, hey kids, I want you to help build these houses, did you have any specific aspirations already that were aligned with that request? Or were you just kind of like, yeah, we're down? Or what was going on in your heads at that time?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, dad and mom, they always raised us with a little bit different mindset, I would say, and challenge us to not do the status quo and just to kind of go the easy route. So all throughout growing up, they had us kind of, dad would bring us on the job sites from diapers on, right? And we'd just be learning and,
hazardous.
Yeah.
That's where I got my first scars.
Yeah. Yeah. And so definitely kind of challenge us to kind of think beyond what I think we would naturally do. And so the building the houses kind of came from hey, we want to do something right out of high school. And actually right before that, we ended up going on a sailing trip. And that's kind of really where it really kind of, hit the nail on the head as far as doing something different. And so we took off on a sailboat from San Diego and sailed for 9 months, clear through the South Pacific, ended up in Australia. And that was an incredible journey of just, growing.
Wait a second, you started sailing. No, I'm like, how did this happen? You're houses, suddenly we're sailing to Australia.
Yeah. Well, our dad, when he was a kid, he sailed around the world. And so as we grew up, he'd always tell us his sailing trip adventures. And we would always pull his arm and twist his leg and you got to take us on a trip. And then finally one year he gave in, and so it took our family on a 9-month sailing trip and hit all the different islands, and got to experience the South Pacific in a way that very few have. And it was also it came with a lot of challenges. You don't have all the daily conveniences living on a boat. There's one point where we had a crossing that took 21 days. So we literally didn't see land for 21 days, and you're stuck on a 46-foot boat with a handful of people, and you're,
2,000 miles away from any help, any sort of landmass. And so you're out there just.
We're actually closer. We're closer to the astronauts on the ISS than we were to any other human in the world. So it's pretty.
That's
pretty
crazy.
wild.
How old were you both when this was going down?
I was 16.
And I was like 17, 18. So it was kind of like high school years. And I was kind of I guess stepping back, we same thing. Like we were like, all right, we want to do something more. Let's start doing community college during high school at nights. So we can.
I did that too.
Yeah.
Graduate early and do this
Graduate
trip.
a year early. Shout out to early grads.
Yeah.
So good. And I went on this trip, and it was we call it like our boys to men trip. Like we started as boys and we ended up as men after it, just with.
And I hope you were singing Boys to Men through that transformation.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so that's incredible. So you were sailing, and I'm presuming that you were doing the early grad thing. And then was it around like the time that you were graduating or after this trip that your dad was like, hey, like, you want to come work for me? Or how did that happen?
Yeah, that happened right after the trip. So we got home, and we basically went, so I guess, my dad's perspective was like, hey, I don't really want to go build more houses. I want to teach my sons how to build houses. So we kind of jumped right into that with him. He taught us from foundation of roofing, how to build a house. And we did that 7 times in a row, and really took us through the ringer. By the end of that, we could build a house on our own. And so we started out a new company, which kind of led us into what you kind of mentioned earlier on, which is our first kind of company on our own, which is a tiny house company. So we started building custom tiny homes on wheels. That company, it kind of naturally just kind of blew up. So we took a little bit of a different stance on it than the rest of the market, and it got picked up by a lot of media. HGTV ended up approaching us, and we did a 4-season and 38 episode TV show with them called Tiny Luxury, and built it with the fun. I mean, it was a great season. It was like mad chaos, and we had 50 different employees, and like they'd all be working in our manufacturing facility, and then the TV crew would come in and be like, all right, quiet on set, and we're like, our payroll's just going, but everyone has to be quiet. Everyone's got to set down their hammers. Our clients are waiting. They're like, all right, we got to film for 2 hours. So everyone's got to be quiet. We're like, oh boy. So, that was like the daily struggle of like the balance of trying to grow our business, run our business efficiently, where the TV show demanded so much, and was kind of like the exact opposite of what an efficient manufacturing setup should be. So that was quite the experience, I would say.
And that taught us a lot of different things, from marketing to financial side of businesses to managing teams and hiring, firing, and every aspect of a business. And on top of that, also partnerships and negotiation and everything, because we also had to negotiate our TV contracts, all of the things along those lines, which gave us a great experience by the time that we're young 20s at this point. And most of the employees that we were hiring were late 20s, mid 30s. That seems to be how it was. And, and so we had kind of a crash course of managing people, even if they're, if they think that they can have seniority over you, you still have to lead them in a stronger way, and so on. And so that was, especially with contractors too, they're not always the easiest. So we got a crash course on, managing teams, every single aspect of business, because it turned into a pretty substantial size operation, and so on. So that what we did learn from that, though, is that we loved the marketing and online business side of the whole business. And so we really enjoyed getting to grow the brand and grow the presence, which it actually was the biggest tiny house company in the country, because it was just the most well known through the different marketing that we'd been pushing and doing and working on. And so as that happened, we exited out of that business, and from there we wanted to continue doing what we loved, which was the marketing side of business, and the online, trying to find an online business from there. So
So for how many years were you doing the manufacturing business, and how long was the actual HGTV filming going on in this whole?
Yeah, so it was a 5-year period from start to exit, and it was 4 years of it we were filming. It wasn't like, 12 months of filming, but it'd be like probably 6 to 8 months of each of those years, basically filming, probably more like at least 8 months every year. So it was a pretty substantial amount of filming on the whole operation, and yeah, 5 years it seems like a long time, but
it goes fast.
It goes fast. Yeah, it goes fast. And it was definitely a lot of late nights. We were working crazy hours because that's what it took to make it happen. So yeah,
you're actually, serious about the business, not just like, oh, I can rest on my laurels now that I have a reality TV contract, which you often will see with people who are doing something impressive and then they get on reality TV. Like we see that with a lot of these like real estate shows, especially. It makes you wonder, are any of these people like actually transacting, or are they just waiting for the next season to film, right? So that's a lot to take on for, two guys who are so young, like in their early 20s. I mean, even with the positive reinforcement and support from your father, I'm sure it helped you mature very quickly, but I'm sure there were moments where you were overwhelmed. So how did you navigate that?
Yeah, there was definitely moments of overwhelmingness. Yeah, so I think it was just a team factor, right? So this company in particular was we started it, Zach and I and our brother-in-law Tyson, and so it's kind of like the three amigos. Like we all went in it with a mission, and we had each other's backs, and we worked hard. And our wives, they're incredibly supportive too. So like that was a huge factor to be able to make it through that. And at the end of the day,
you were already married at how old?
Yeah, we all got married at 20, actually.
You all did?
Yeah.
Did you have the same wedding?
Yeah, so, a year and a half apart, basically. Yeah, our sister got married at 20. A year and a half later, I got married at 20. A year and a half later, he got married at 20.
Family tradition. No pressure.
Yeah. So incredibly supportive. And, they were part of the TV show too. And they, put a lot of weight on their end. And at the end of the day, as you're building businesses, sometimes you just gotta grit your teeth and grind through it, right? And work towards the light at the end of the tunnel. And sometimes there are some seasons of discouragement or senses of failure and all that. But I think that's been a huge blessing for us, is to have each other to kind of lift each other up out of those moments as well, and be like, hey, lift your head up. This is where we're going. Don't forget like where we're headed and what all this is, all this is for, right? And so
that's a really good point. But, since you both have shifted gears so many times, navigating new opportunities, even trying multiple opportunities at once. So how did you identify what your North Star, your true North was, when you were kind of in the midst of trying out so many things? And for people who want to be multidimensional, or it can be challenging to identify that true north. And I think that's where people get discouraged, or they're like, I should only focus on one thing. So how did you do that, knowing that you're probably going to be experimenting quite a bit? Like, what was that for you?
Yeah, definitely. So part of what we learned through the tiny house manufacturing company was we learned a lot of what we didn't like. And then post that, once we exited, in the next probably 5 years, we launched multiple different ventures, maybe 3 to 5 years. We launched multiple different ventures, and we called it kind of our exploratory phase of figuring out exactly what we don't like. And so that it did just take time. Obviously, once we were able to leave the manufacturing, we're like, hey, we don't want a bunch of employees. We don't want to be doing a massive physical product that just comes with certain complications. But
supply chain issues, all the things. Low margins.
But it wasn't fully whittled down. We hadn't like fully found the true north of like what we wanted to do. And so You can say something?
Yeah, I think, and speaking of the true north, I think a really important distinction there is like, I think it's easy to fix your true north on what you are doing, right? Like, what am I going to do as a career or as my business or as my job? And I think what we did was a little bit different that I think worked out, at least for us, was like, hey, what is our true north as far as the life we want to live with our family? And then let's backfill the job or the business or the career around that vision, around that North Star. So it didn't really matter what we were doing, as long as we were experimenting and figuring out if this business model or this business model or this niche would get us to that North Star of the life that we wanted to live with our family. So each one of those businesses that failed felt like it was actually a success, and saying, hey, this failed because, or we failed it purposefully. One of our philosophies is like, try things and then fail them fast. Like, figure out as fast as you can if it's something you want to do, if it has legs, if it's going to be something that, propels you to your vision for your future. And so that's been a huge part of this mission of like, hey, we have this vision for our family, how we want to live and grow our kids and raise them to, be the people we believe they can be. And how do we build a career, a business, or a lifestyle around that? So that was that exploratory phase where we were just like, all right, let's spread a wide net, try as many businesses as we can, and let's fail them quick. Let's figure out what we don't like, what we do like, and slowly narrow it down to something that kind of aligns with our North Star, like you said.
So your North Star, really we can look at it as like, what is our why? And for you both, your why is your family. And so at the end of the day, it's really about like the businesses are just I'm not going to say a means to an end, but a vessel to, carry you and your family forward in the ways that you want your family to be carried forward. So it's more like a tool. And I feel like to some extent, when we can kind of neutralize our feelings around the business and gives us more permission to let go and try something new. So I think to some extent, that's why you both have been able to be so experimental. But when you exited, so did the business get acquired and then you got some runway to be able to experiment for so many years, or how exactly did that work logistically?
Yeah, logistically, the exit was, I would say, very mediocre to just break even type of deal. It wasn't like this big, huge home run that we could go and float. So right after we exited, we jumped right into doing what we knew to do after that, which was swing a hammer, right? So we jumped right back into construction, spun up a remodeling company as we figured out what we were going to do on the online space, which was ultimately what we wanted to do. So we grinded for almost a year doing remodels, and basically built up enough cash that we could say, all right, we have 6 months to go do as many experiments that we can and figure out and try to get one to work, right, to carry us to the next level.
And we were actually doing those experiments while we were still remodeling and doing construction. So it was, like having two jobs in that sense, where we had a vision and a mission. We knew exactly what we were going to do, and we knew that we could get there if we played our cards right. So that was the mission. Yeah.
And so what was that? Was that then the marketing company that I essentially, met you both when you were having that in 2023? Was that what that was for you? That worked out?
That was one aspect of it. So we had a few different ventures, like educational online resources. Since we did have so much knowledge in the tiny house space, we were able to sell tiny house plans and sell a few different things along those lines that helped in that sense. And then a few different ventures that we started. Some of them we were able to have like smaller exits on and be able to kind of continue to propel forward. And
kind of anything from online coffee. We did an instant coffee company. We almost like, what was it, a cricket protein bar. We did hemp seed milk.
Hemp seed milk. Okay, it's very Oregon.
Very Oregon. We just kind of went down all these different paths. Greeting cards. Like there were so many. Our wives were like, "What on earth are you guys doing?" We're like, "We're experimenting."
Your wives sound like very, very patient women. I will say
they
that.
are. They're doing that.
They're the better halves for sure. Yeah.
So,
what were their thoughts when because because obviously there might be some concern, like you would imagine that there could be concern around instability. Like, are you going to ever like find something that you want to do? But it sounds like there was always a lot of trust in place in both of your relationships and with each other.
Yeah. Thankfully, it definitely came from a place of trust and excitement for our vision and so on. But there definitely was a season a couple years into our exploratory phase that they're like, oh no, not a business, not another one, not another business idea. And, it seemed like there's always something new. We definitely had a little bit of the shiny object syndrome for a handful of, years, which was really good because it showed us what we should chase and what we shouldn't chase in that sense. So we're very thankful for that time, but hindsight's 2020. If we could go back and tell ourselves exactly what we need today, we could have skipped a couple of years in that sense. But yeah.
Right. But it gave you your wings, right?
Yeah.
In many ways. So fast forward to 2023, when we met each other during Outer Edge LA. And for those of you watching who don't know what that is, Outer Edge LA was a very large Web3 convention. Originally, it was NFT LA and then expanded to Outer Edge to be more encompassing of other areas of Web3. And so Zach and Jason were heading up a lot of the graphic and marketing, whereas Alternate Media, we were heading up a lot of strategic PR and community partnerships. And I was like, these two are so talented, so professional. So at that time, like that's what you were involved in, or were you also starting to build other things in tandem as well?
We had a couple of other ventures going at the same time. But that definitely, Outer Edge, working on that, it definitely helped us with that runway and being able to have more time to work on other aspects as well. But
the marketing and graphic design side, business that we had when we met you, that's actually still going, but we don't really work on it much right now. But that was a big one that kind of, like Zach said, brought in like the cash flow to kind of keep experimenting. We knew that wasn't necessarily what we wanted to do long term, but it was similar to like how I said, we kind of jumped in the remodeling to build up a little bit of a cash flow to go try to do something else that we would see better aligned with our future. And so it was a similar thing. We found a lot of enjoyment out of doing marketing and graphic design. And so doing that for other companies kind of seemed like a natural good fit. But as far as like an agency model, we weren't necessarily wanting to go down that route, but it was a great source of cash flow to kind of keep us going.
Yeah. One of the ventures that we'd been working on was an autonomous AI marketing software. And it was a little bit before its time because it was in 2022, which was, kind of pre-public access to the, actually well-working AI software.
Was it early 2022? Because I know OpenAI unleashed ChatGPT end of 22.
It was like middle when we started getting into it. Yeah.
So you were definitely early. Yep.
Yeah. So it was a bit early in that sense, and beyond the actual tech side of things, it was early for people being comfortable with AI in the sense of the businesses that we're trying to sell on the autonomousness of marketing. They're kind of like, yeah, but like, will it say what I want it to say? Like, is it going to be good content? They're all worried that it wasn't going to be what they wanted. Whereas nowadays people are a lot more comfortable with AI and they're like, no, like AI can in general write something, maybe it needs a little bit of human massaging or whatnot. Or sometimes people are like, it literally can write better than I can. And so, so it definitely was a little bit early in that sense. That was one of the ventures that we're starting to work on. And that was kind of where we fell in love with, autonomous systems in that sense. And because of our past of having so many employees, and we had a mission to reduce our overhead and not have many employees long term, we're trying to figure out ways that we could do that internally for ourselves as well, which essentially flowed into how AI can be so powerful for businesses today.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I understand like bloated payroll can be really draining very quickly in multiple ways, because we had a very big team in 22. I think we had over like 20 people or something between the US and overseas. And, the money goes quick. And now with AI, like we're able to really reduce that overhead while of course still being mindful about, not replacing everybody with AI. But I've started becoming fascinated with AI around the same time period. But prior to that, did you already have a pulse on tech and innovation? It sounds like you did. I mean, by virtue of being in the manufacturing business in the way that you were, even the tiny homes back then were not as popular as they are today. So it sounds like you've always had a pulse on what's next.
Yeah, I think that's just come from experimenting. And for us, we always kind of feel like, man, we're just slightly behind. But I think that's what keeps us kind of like searching for the next thing and pushing for the trend before their trends, right? And that's been, I mean, we were definitely, into tech, I would say, and really getting into software and systems, and as you were mentioned, we got into the Web3 space, and so we were kind of fascinated with all these different technologies coming out. And then, of course, when AI became more and more, accessible, that's when that really started, I guess, becoming even more prevalent, and like our passion and our excitement, right, what we want to do.
And now you have two main ventures, Home and Willo, with a focus on Willo. So tell us about Willo. How did that come into fruition, and what are your plans for Willo?
Yeah, so Willo is an autonomous business building platform, and we took basically our autonomous background in the MarTech side of things and applied it to the principle of being able to build a business autonomously through AI. We are not trying to claim that it's fully autonomous at this point in time, just because the underlying LLM tech isn't quite there. And then also we just need to develop our software further and more and whatnot. But you can jump on there and build your systems. It's essentially to build anything app in that sense, where you can build any sort of internal software or your website or external software. But beyond that, that's just the beginning aspect of it. That's just kind of the foundation. But beyond that, it can do ongoing operations of the business. So that's what's really exciting about it, is that it can help people grow their business in an aspect of whether it's lead gen and the sales side of things, or ongoing marketing that's continually being pushed out, or strategizing, or operations and project management side of those types of ongoing aspects it can handle in that sense. And it's pretty flexible as far as the exact ins and outs of how you want it set up and how you can handle your exact internal systems and whatnot. So
well, I can attest that it's very well built, as I have started playing with it for one of my new ventures, and you guys have definitely done a great job. So I'm excited.
Yeah, it's been fun. And that's been something that, again, we kind of, it's the classic saying, sometimes a side quest is what kind of takes you to something that ends up being the main quest, right? And that's how it kind of feels with Willo, is that all these different combination of experiences and businesses and lessons learned, hard lessons, and the successes and failures kind of led us to this point where, like Zach was saying, we love systems, we love, and the other side is we love helping other people create a life, like we said, that is in line with what they want to get out of life, right? And for us, a lot of that is having ownership in something, especially like a business. And so, seeing Willo as a way to allow more people to create something that they've always wanted to create, to start a business that they've always wanted to start, but maybe didn't have the time or the knowledge or the resources. And Willo really kind of shortcuts all that. It doesn't necessarily take all the hard work away, right? Like, you still have to use your mind and put in the time, but it dramatically reduces the upfront costs and the and the time it takes to get from A to B to C, and really kind of put yourself out there and try the idea that you've been sitting on. That's our kind of big vision mission for it, and that's been kind of a huge part of why we're so excited about it. And it's just beginning, and that's what gets us up every morning ready to get at it. So
yeah, it's been super fun and exciting to work on, because it feels like a culmination of all of the different past ventures that we've been working on that are coming together, bringing our experience, our firsthand founder pain from so many different ventures and starts. And the really cool thing is that it's not just for like brand new businesses as well. It can also be for an existing business, whether it's a service-based business and they are never getting around to doing their marketing, or it allows the owner of the business to spend more of their time actually doing their job, in the sense of whether it's billable hours or working whatever they need to be working on, and not having to worry about the minutia and the internal details, or, did I post that social media? Did I do, these different aspects? Did I get back to customers who's reaching out, and so on? So it can handle a lot of that and allow the owner to continue to work on their primary job in that sense, and do what actually brings in revenue there. So it can streamline, whether it's building new ideas or helping existing businesses really achieve why they started the business in the first place. They didn't start the business to do all the admin work. They started a business that can do the thing that they're passionate about and that they love. And so this helps optimize and streamline that as well for them. Yeah.
Right. So business owners can focus on working on the business instead of being in the weeds, for sure. And do you have goals of raising venture capital, or what's your vision for the trajectory of Willo?
Yeah, we're kind of right in the crossroads of that. We're considering, going to raise some VC, funding, and kind of really take it to the next level in that sense. We're also, right now bootstrapped, and we have a good runway that we're comfortable with. So it's kind of like, we're right in that path. It's definitely been picking up a great amount of energy and steam that we're like, I think it might be time to go raise some money and really kind of, put some fuel on the fire here. But that's something that we're actually actively thinking through and trying to, pick the right path in that sense.
Yeah.
Have you ever raised before for any of your prior ventures, or has it all been kind of boots on the ground?
Yeah, we've pretty much always been bootstrapped. Yeah. So, and that's been, that's been the way we've done it. And so this would be something different for us. And again, part of it, part of the desire to go do it is, again, just to like get that experience and try it. Right. And, I think, another one of our kind of philosophies is, we feel an obligation to go as big as we possibly can. Right. Like, we don't want to hold ourselves back from whatever potential we have. And so this feels like one of those ones that, hey, let's see how far we can take this.
Do you ever think, because so much of why you've created in the way you've created to optimize your lifestyle, that by raising and going down that new lane, so to speak, that would somehow undermine your lifestyle goals?
You're hitting the nail on the head. That's why we're in the process of thinking through that right now. And we do think that there is absolutely a way that we can prevent that from happening. But it is, it is a part of the equation that we need to think through and take seriously in that sense. And we don't want to just throw away a good thing in hopes that the grass on the other side is greener. So we're being thoughtful and considerate, and we're not approaching it from the sense of needing to raise funds. It would just be if we want to, take it to the next level faster, sooner, or whatnot. So
definitely like a strategic play rather than like a necessity, which I think is a good point to come from, obviously. And so we feel good about that, but
and also knowing how quickly AI evolves, to your earlier point, that it's challenging to be ahead of what's already happening. And of course, like, by having more fuel in the coffer, you're able to, kind of stay ahead and, of course, serve more potential clients and help more businesses. So, but I understand it's not the easiest thing to navigate when you've been able to be so successful on your own for so many years.
Yeah, that's the challenge for sure. It does feel a little bit like a race, and sometimes it's easy to get sucked into that vortex. Like, we gotta go now, like otherwise we're gonna miss it. And then at the same time, being like, all right, we have something here, and let's keep moving forward the best we know how. So
what is like keeping you both like the most anchored? Are you both faith driven or spiritual, or what keeps you grounded?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're Christians, so I love the Lord, and that's a big anchor there as far as just faith focused and driven in that sense, and trying to also leave the world in a sense a better place. Like, we think that it's our obligation to shine the light and love others well, and lead by example in that sense. And then definitely beyond that as well is our wives are amazing in the sense of they help us stay grounded, and having our kids, even though it helps life be all the more full, it also, when we get home from work, our minds are able to like kind of be like, this is like spending quality time with the kids is like, that's what it's all about. It's not about, making insane amounts of money. It's about like making memories with the kids and experiencing that with them as well. So yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you both for being on this episode. And where can everyone find you and keep up with all the things that you're up to?
Yeah, let's see. We're on Twitter, X, and LinkedIn. Our personal website is francisbrothers.com. And yeah, that's kind of, I guess, the platform's online. And yeah, that's where we are.
Yeah, it's where we live.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I will drop all of your information in the caption of this video, including links to Willo and Helm. And everyone, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. And I will see you next time.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much for having us on. It was amazing.
Of course. Okay.